It's an everyday thing. It's an everyday thing. It's an everyday thing when you let your nuts hang. In one of my previous posts, I mentioned that after 75 days of being married, I asked for a divorce. And really, it was 60 days. But I was like, maybe you tripping. Give it a second. Wait a minute. See, what's up. But at day 75, there was like an event that happened, and I was just like, no, ain't no way I'm finna stay in this. I don't care nothing about no paperwork or none of that. I got to get out of this situation because this ain't it. I'm going to preface this story by saying I have never been a woman to stay in a relationship longer than I need to. I have always been the woman that has gotten away. Now, I'm not going to say that I haven't stayed in situations longer than I should have, but when the light bulb went off, I had no problems leaving. So, here's a story on how I got married, and after 75 days of being married, I wanted a divorce. I'm also going to say we didn't even have the opportunity to live together. So, we lived in two separate homes, and I mentioned that I dropped the $1,500 for the divorce. So the divorce was a non-contested divorce, so he didn't contest it, and so we didn't have any children together. We didn't have any assets together. We didn't live together. No shared vehicles, no shared accounts, no shared anything. So it was a very kind of in and out process once I filed. So the backstory, I went to FAMU. He went to FAMU too, but that's not how we met. We actually met because he some kind of way found me on Instagram. I'm not sure what video or what picture I posted on Instagram that caught his attention. I can't even remember, but nonetheless, it did. So he initially started like DMing me, but it was just friendly. He initially let me know, hey, you graduated from FAMU. I did too. So that was literally like the conversation started. So if you know anything about FAMU, you know like we're one big family. So if a person says, oh, you graduated from FAMU, I graduated from FAMU, that's an immediate conversation. So that's initially how we met. So it was just friendly conversation. Now, I will say this. He mentioned that he had graduated from FAMU, and I said, oh, me too. But I'm I'm kind of leery, like, when guys slide in my DMs. So I might respond, but I respond very short, kind of like, okay, you graduated from FAMU, I did too. Okay, whatever. So he would like comment on my pictures. He would comment on my videos, and I took it with a grain of salt. I was like, whatever. But he kept being consistent with commenting and, with sliding in my DM. So it went from like, I like that picture to, I think you're a gorgeous woman. And then it went to, you know what? Where are you located? Like, what city are you located? So, we talked about, I let him know, I'm in Atlanta. And he was like, oh, me too. I just moved up here not too long ago, blah, blah, blah. So he asked me on a date, a coffee date, which is should have been red flag number 1. So I politely responded to him, I don't do coffee dates. I have a nice Keurig in my house with all the bells and the whistles. I don't need to get in my car. I don't need to get dressed. I don't need to drive in Atlanta traffic for no coffee. So if a coffee date is what you're offering, I'm not interested. He responds back, okay. It's no problem. Cool. We could do a restaurant. We could get drinks, talk over, get drinks, get food, whatever, talk over food in a nice restaurant. So I left him on red for like a couple of days, because the coffee date thing didn't sit well with me. I'm like, who is, like, I don't do coffee dates. So, he responded again, and he was like, I'm not sure if you got my message, but, I'd like to take you out. So I was like, you know what? Okay, cool. Ain't no harm in meet him. I will drive my car and meet him, out. So we decided to go out on a Tuesday. So infamous Taco Tuesday. So I met him at a real nice taco place in downtown Atlanta. Now, another thing that happened when I got downtown to the taco place, Atlanta's downtown is crazy with parking. Like, it's awful. So it took me, I was probably like 30 minutes late, and I'm not usually late, but I was about 30 minutes late because I, for the life of me, could not find where to park. And so I shot him a quick message and let him know, I'm going to be late because I'm having a hard time, figuring out where to park.
30 minutes.
So he was like, he was giving me instructions, and he was like, I can come out there and show you where to park, blah, 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 blah. Long story short, I found out where to park, got into the restaurant, and met him in the restaurant. So I left off. We met at the taco place downtown. Let me also say this. He was not really my type physically. And I don't even have a type physically, but he wasn't my type physically, if that makes sense. So I get to the taco place. He's there, dressed really nice. Slacks, a button-down shirt, glasses, dressed really nice. Very welcoming, very well-spoken. Hey, nice to meet you, etc., etc. We sit down. He asked me what I would like to order. We get my order, and we're just chopping it up. Nothing too deep. He's just telling me where he's from. I'm telling him where I'm from. Just, normal, casual, first date conversation. So, first date goes well. He walks me to my car. I go home, let him know, I made it home, whatever. We exchange numbers, so we continue to converse. He lets me know that his birthday is coming up and that he's going to be taking a trip for his birthday. So, whatever. Whatever. So he goes and takes the trip for his birthday. Now, I'm the type of woman, I don't call a man. I don't text a man. Even if we are in a relationship, I'm not calling your phone. I'm not texting your phone first. Call it what you want. I just don't. If a man wants to talk to me, he will reach out to me, whether that's text, call, whatever. So the whole time he was on his birthday trip, he would call, he would text, let me know. We would have little short conversations. He let me know, he was having a good time on his trip. One particular time, he FaceTimed me. And he had on this hoodie. And I was like, wow, I really like that hoodie. Where'd you get that hoodie from? And he was like, I got it out here in Vegas. And I'm kidding around. And I'm like, oh, get me one. Because I really like that. Long story short, he ends up buying the hoodie and bringing it to me and giving it to me when he gets back in town. So if I'm remembering correctly, when he got back from his birthday trip, we went on a second date, I believe. Regular conversation. Everything's going well. Then he invites me over to his house. We start talking about where, kind of the area that we live in. And he lives on the total opposite end from where I live. So at first I'm like, I ain't really trying to go, to his house. I don't really know him. Like, it's I ain't trying to do that. But, I went against it and I was like, what is it gonna hurt? I'll go down there. I had mentioned to him that I was cooking. Not, I'm a person that cooks. I cooks. It has nothing to do with anybody else. That's what I like to do. So he was like, bring me some. Okay, cool, whatever. So I drive down to his house. And I bring the food. And so I was like, okay, so where we finna go to eat? Because I'm not finna sit in here. Like, where we finna go to eat? Like, so he was like, all right, where you want to go? And I'm like, I want seafood. So he's like, I know this this seafood place, whatever. So we go on a date. He didn't contest it or anything. So we went on a date to the seafood place. Again, nice time. Conversation is flowing. We leave the date. We go back to his house. We're listening to music. We're just chopping it up, chatting it up. Cool. Oh, let me say this. When I got to his house was a house. It wasn't an apartment. Nothing against apartments, but I'm like, okay, he got a house. You know, I'm scoping the scene or whatever. So the house is nice and clean. You know, he's cleaned up. He got the candles on. I go use the restroom. The restroom is clean. I'm like, oh, okay. So, you know, he cleaned up or whatever. That date is over. So I leave, you know, his house that night. Now, before I go into part 3, I'm going to say this. I don't like men. And in most cases, I do not take them serious. It's for the moment. It's for a good time. If you talk to my sisters, my cousins, my friends, they will tell you. Now, I find men attractive. I'm not attracted to women, but there are not a lot of good men at the core. And I've always known that. Like, I didn't know how to explain it when I was younger, but I always, like, felt it. Like, something about them. I don't really care for them. They cool. And yes, I've slipped up a time or two, you know, and been caught off guard. You know, players fuck up. But, okay, part 3. So, after I spent time in his home, we went on another date, I believe. And then after that, we were talking more and more on the phone, texting throughout the day. So then he asked, you know, basically if we could be in a relationship exclusively. So I'm like, okay, cool. I'm just going with it. Cool. At that point, he comes to my house. And so when he comes to my house, I think it was like a football game on. So, you know, my sister and I, we were eating, you know, we had the hookah, we had drinks, we were watching football. So he came over to watch football. So after the game went off, he started expressing like his deep feelings for me and telling me how, you know, he's never met a woman like me, and how he just really enjoys my company and he just really wants to be with me. And let me back up a little bit. I forgot to tell y'all his occupation. So he's a lawyer. I'm a college professor. And keep that in mind as I continue to tell the story. So he starts to tell me how he feels and he's never met a woman like me. Yes. And I have one son. So my son is 12. And he has 2 kids by the same woman. But his kids are younger than mine. And that's one of the rules that I broke, because I don't date men that have more than 1 kid. And I don't date men if they have more than 1. Their children are younger than my son. And don't, you know, y'all don't jump down my throat, but I just don't want to be involved with a man with small children. Like, that's my preference. I prefer a man that has 1 or none. But I don't typically like to be involved with men that have multiple children that are smaller than mine. That's too much work. When it's time for you to get them, that means I gotta like be trying to adjust my schedule and all that. But because it seemed to be a good situation, it was by the same woman, I was like, all right, cool. Again, went against the grain, red flag. So fast forward, I'm at his house on one night. You know, we're having a good time. And he was like, you know, I really been thinking about marriage. And I could see myself, like, getting married to you. So I'm like, yeah. Now, this ain't the first time that I've been asked to get married. Like, I've been proposed to. My son's dad proposed to me twice with 2 different rings. The guy after him proposed to me, and the guy after him proposed to me. And for me, I just, like I said, I don't really care for men like that. And I always knew, like, I never wanted to get married in my 20s or early 30s. Like, I just didn't want my 20s to be tied down with being married. And hell, I didn't want to be a mama in my 20s either. But shit happens. And that happened late in my late 20s. But it happens. I accepted it. It is what it is. We were sticking and moving. So he
This is
starts to talk
delusion
about
at its
marriage, and he
finest.
was like,
But
I really see myself being with you. And in hindsight, I fit the bill. And when I say I fit the bill, he's a lawyer. And he's a lawyer that likes to be involved in organizations all over the city. So he's always trying to be somewhere on the scene, trying to network, trying to get his name out there, trying to get his face out there. And he thought again that I fit the bill because I went to fam, I'm a college professor, I got my shit together. So I fit the bill on paper. So long story short, he asked me to marry him. I say yeah. And don't jump down my throat again, but I didn't really take it serious like that. It was just like, okay, he want to get married. Okay, cool. Like, yeah, let's get married. That's kind of how I said it. And he was like, no, I'm serious. Like, I really want to, like, get married. So I was like, okay. Because at this point, I'm just like, he probably not gonna be the man that I stay married to for my whole life. But I'm in my 30s. People always asking like, when you gonna get married? It ain't gonna hurt nothing. It's a notch in my belt. When it's all said and done, I could be like, oh, I done already been married. Like, what else you got? Because when you get a certain age as a woman, people are like, well, we won't get married. We don't have more kids. I have always been very successful, like in my education. I've always been successful in my career.
oh,
But my love life has always been kind of,
pay attention.
and he just caught me in a moment. And I was just like, you know what? Okay, let's do it. So to clear up the confusion on the comment that I made that he is not my type, but I don't have a type. If you look at all of my exes, none of them look alike. None of them look similar. But they all are considered to be, fairly handsome men. So if you put him in that group with my exes, you will clearly, visibly see like the difference in him. Like he would be the oddball in that case. But I've heard women say like most of the time the man who they get married to doesn't look like any of their exes. And I was kind of like getting my Shira 7 on. Like, he might not be
Oh,
such a looker in my
that
book, in my
explains it.
eyes. But he'll blow it back. So we'll take it for what it's worth. We'll give it a shot.
See,
He writes me this long letter because he's a writer, so he likes to write. And so he writes me this long letter expressing his feelings to me, like a old school love letter. And I still have that letter. And so we set a date to get married, which is like a couple weeks away, a week away or so, something like that. So fast forward to the day where it's time for us to go to the courthouse and get married. Now, we had a conversation, and in that conversation about getting married, I told him that I did not want a big wedding. I wanted something intimate, very small, very personable. But if you remember me mentioning, he is like very outlandish. He always wants to be on the scene, gotta have a whole bunch of people around, gotta put on a show. But he said, okay. Not only that, I also said, all right, if we do this and we go get married, I have my own place. So I'm not giving up my own place. Like I'll come over here or whatever, but I got a place and I'm gonna keep my place. And I've always said, like, if I got married, like at least that first year of marriage, like I'm gonna be in my own house because I need to see how things pan out. Because people can pretend for a long time and then you get in a situation and you like, whoa. And I'm actually not against being married and having my own house the whole marriage. But I also told him that we needed to be married for at least 1 year before we told people. Like we told all of our family and we told all of our friends. I was like, I'll wear the ring and people can just think that I'm engaged for the first year. Just keep it private and work through it, because anybody that has been married, or from what I've been told, the first year of marriage is the hardest year of marriage. And for me, again, I'm very private. So me even telling this story is like a big jump for me, because I don't really get on the internet and tell my personal business. But I feel like there are a lot of women who get married and realize that the person that they're married to, that they don't want to be married to that person anymore, because of it could be in a short period of time, and then they feel like, I gotta stay married to this person because I've signed this paper and I've made these vows. And they think, even though that person may be mistreating them, or not treating them the same as they did when they got together, and doing the things that made them want to be with that person, that person might switch up, or that person might start cheating. And a lot of times women feel as though they have to stick it out in these marriages. And so I'm here to tell my story, that you don't have to stick it out. So if he's not treating you the way that you need to be treated, then you can leave. I don't care if y'all been married for 10 days. I also got the question a lot about the annulment process. So I did look into the annulment process, but the annulment process is very specific. There has to be some specific guidelines in order to get an annulment. You just can't get an annulment because you don't want to be married to that person no more. Like, you have to prove, like, in depth that this person, like, misled you, which he did, but it would have taken quite a bit of time for me to prove that. And in the state of mind that I was in, I just wanted the situation to be over. So the annulment process was a no-go for me. Okay, so back to it. So the day of, we get to the courthouse to get married. The courthouse is closed. It ain't no big federal holiday. The courthouse is closed. It's cold. The courthouse is closed. That was my sign, y'all. That was my sign. Nonetheless, all right, we go, go out to eat, cool. Everything is good. We go back to his house. We're hanging, we're chilling, and we like, you know what? We'll just go back tomorrow and start, to get the marriage license and sign the paperwork. So we go back the next day. I get in the courthouse, so I'm dressed, and it's very cold outside. So I have on these long boots. So I go in the courthouse, and you got to go through the metal detectors and put your stuff through the metal detectors and all that. So I had some lotion in my purse, and the lady was like, that size lotion is too big. You can't bring that in here. So you either gonna have to take it back to the car, or you gonna have to throw it away. I was like, you know what? Don't worry about it. Just throw it away. I attempted to walk through the metal detector, but because my boots were so high, they were like, you're going to have to take your boots off. We got to see, you can't walk through this with those boots on. So it kind of made me have attitude. Like, what? I got to take my shoes off to walk through here. So nonetheless, took the boots off. Another red flag. Like, God was like, I'm trying to show you, girl. I'm trying to show you, and you ain't paying attention. I wasn't paying attention. So get through, he's putting my boots back on for me, being kind, being nice, whatever. So we get up there, the process. You got to go up to the floor. You got to sign it. You got to sign in. You got to tell him what you're applying for. So he paid for it. So we're sitting there. So we go to the back. And the lady is just verifying all of our information, making sure we are who we say we are. So we get to the part about the name. And so I wanted to hyphenate my name. And so he was kind of like looking at me like, and then he was like, I want you to have my last name. I had no intentions of changing my name. Like, my last name was not going to be changed. I'm not changing my last name unless I'm probably like, if, and I really don't have to get married anymore. Like, been there, done that. I don't know. We'll probably have to be married like 5 or 10 years before I change my name. Like, I'm not changing my name. Like, I would at least hyphenate my name. So I'm just like, whatever. I ain't worried about that, because that's a whole nother process. I have to come back and I have to change my name. We went through the process. We get out. And we now have to get the reverend to officiate. So he calls he's a member of a church. Another thing, when he met me, we talked about spirituality. We talked about God. I let him know that I have a good relationship with God. He took me saying that I have a relationship with God to mean that I am very religious. Now, hold on to that, because that's going to come back up. But he is very religious. I'm going to let y'all ponder on that for a minute. So he calls his reverend to officiate it, and the reverend's like, okay, cool, I'll be there in an hour. So we go get something to eat. Only way to get something to eat, he calling his sisters, he calling his cousins, he calling his friends. Oh, I just got married. So he gets off the phone, and I was like, I thought I told you that we're not telling anybody that we're married. Like, we gonna
keep it a secret.
Keep it between us and see how things go. And he's just like, oh, I'm sorry. I'm just so excited about it. I'm just so happy to be a married man. I'm just so happy to have a beautiful wife. Like, I just think you're amazing. You're the most amazing woman that I ever met. And I just want to tell everybody about it. There was no way I was going to let you, like, I had to wife you up. Like, I couldn't just let you go. So we get to the church, and the reverend brings his wife with him. So before we start the officiating process, I go use the restroom. The wife also is in the restroom with me. And so, she sparks up conversation, and she was telling me how her and her husband had only known each other for 3 months, and they got married, and they had been married for 30 years. And she was just giving me like old school advice, about marriage. But she also told me to not lose myself in the marriage, and to always, always, always be the center of my marriage, and don't make him the center of my marriage. And so, I held on to that, and I've always said that a man is not going to be the center of my universe. But I held on to that. And so we get up there, and he starts the officiating process. So we go through the officiating process, and the wife that I mentioned earlier is recording this, so I still have a copy of it. So we didn't write out any vows or anything like that. It was just the standard vows or whatever. So we go through that process. We have dinner scheduled after that, for he and I. So like a private little, upscale dinner for he and I. He also was like, he wanted me to have a certain type of ring. So we go to the jewelry store. Well, he goes to the jewelry store, and there are other stores in the area. So while he's in the jewelry store, I'm in the other area shopping, looking at other stuff. So he comes out with the ring, puts the ring on my finger, all of that. So we go out, get the food, and then we go get like wine and stuff after that, to go back to his house to talk about where we want to go for the honeymoon and taking a trip. And so it was great. I will say I was kind of like, what the hell have I done? Like, what made me do this? Not that, I thought it was a bad idea. It's just, I'm an overthinker. And like I said, I told y'all I had been proposed to several other times, and I said no. And so in my mind, I'm like, why did I tell this man yeah? But again, the man is successful. He has his own everything, seemingly. And, I was just doing something. I also want to clear that up, and I want to make sure that I'm using my words correctly. Now, when I said, I I ain't take the situation serious. By no means did I mean like I was like out to see what I could get or mistreating him or nothing like that. That's not what I meant. I am a very kind person, and I would never like intentionally do something to harm someone or anything like that. If you had a conversation with any of my exes, they'll tell you, like, I'm a very kind person. Like, when I'm in that role, like, I do what needs to be done. However, again, I'm just not the type of woman that's just gonna fall down over a man. Like, I take men at face value. If that's what you said, cool. I let the chips fall where they may. Like, I'm not gonna fall and just be head over heels and just act like I don't see what's going on and I don't take you for what you are. And when you start showing me who you are, like putting things in my mind and say, no, that can't be it. Like, I take men for who they are. And I'm very intuitive. And because of that, it doesn't allow me to become so engulfed in a situation where I'm just like down bad about a man. Like, I'm never going to be down bad about a man. Because again, I know who they are at face value. But I also understand the society that we live in. I was also raised around a family of women who were married. Like, the women in my family are married and have been married for a very long time. The only person that told me the truth about marriage was my grandmother, like before she passed away. All the other women in my family did not sit down and have real deal conversations with me about what marriage truly is.
Hey, if you made it this far, go ahead and hit the like button and subscribe, okay? Let's get back into it.
Is and what it looks like. Like, my mother has been married for 30 something years. And my mother has never sat down and had a real life. I ain't talking about when, and y'all might feel away with me saying this, but I don't want nobody pulling out no Bible to talk to me about marriage. Like, I want to know, like, what it really looks like. And the reason why I say that is because men weaponize religion to oppress women in marriage. And that's what he started to do. As I mentioned, he was a very religious man. So soon after us getting married, the mask started to fall off. And like, he stopped cleaning up. Like, I went to his house and his house was disgusting. It almost looked like Mr. You know how Mr. House looked from The Color Purple when Celie had first got over there and she had to clean up and get all that shit in order? And I was like, house filthy. Oh, you my wife. That's what that's a part of your role. It's a part of your role to cook and clean and all of that. No, sir. So he started with that. He started using the religion as to weaponize the marriage. And I'm like, this man don't really know who he's married. Again, because see, I fool a lot of men too. When men are in relationships with me, I am, again, very reserved. I'm very laid back. I'm very kind. And men don't know how to handle that. But I'm also very mean, and I don't play that shit. Now, if you get me to a point where I don't play that shit, I don't play that shit. And again, any man that I've dated will tell you, Lakita is mean, but I'm kind. Okay? So if you know, you know. I'm very kind, but I don't play that shit. So he started with that. I mean, house just a mess. House just a mess. He also started putting things on my calendar. And when I say put things on my calendar, like I told y'all, he liked to be on the scene. So he'll be like, oh, I got this event that we got to go to on such and such day at 8 o'clock. That's your event. That's not my event. Again, I'm reserved. I don't got to be on the scene. I only step out when I need to step out. I understand being a supportive wife and supporting your husband through his dreams and whatever he got going on. But he was like OD, y'all. Like, every event, I don't want to be on the scene on no Tuesday night, and I done worked all day. Like, I got a child. Like, I don't want to be on the scene. I don't want to go to that. I want to come home. I want to come home and breathe and
It's Atlanta.
work out. Like, I had my own life and I had my own hobbies, and that was a problem for him. He wanted me to be like a full-on wife up under him, but he wasn't taking care of me. And when I say he wasn't taking care of me, he wasn't providing a life where I could like leave my career, even though I wasn't. I'm never gonna do that. But it wasn't presented in that manner. Like, so why you putting all this stuff on my calendar when I gotta work and I gotta do my own thing? Like, so he would get upset about that, like putting things on my calendar. He also started to compare the way that I treat my son to his kids. And I've only seen the kids a couple times. It wasn't a lot because the kids did not live with him. They lived with their mom. When he had his kids would be at his house. And I would be at my house with my kid. But when he got his kids, he wanted me to basically stop everything that I was doing and that I had planned and to like be there for his kids. So when he gotta go run to an event, he want me to be in the house with his kids. Them your kids, and your kids are in town to spend time with you. I'm an educator. I love children. I'm never gonna be mistreat a child. Like, I'm never gonna do that. But I'm also like my own person, and I don't have to like be available to your children because you say so. Your kids are here to spend time with you. They're not here to be put off on somebody else while you running in the streets. And hold on, because I'm gonna tell y'all about that. He was actually ripping and running in the streets.
Let me go back just a little bit because I forgot to mention the honeymoon. So we got married and we were supposed to have like a 2-part honeymoon. So the first part of the honeymoon, we went away, we went on a trip. I mean, he went all out, top of the line, presidential suite, the flowers, the champagne, everything. Whatever I wanted, I got it. Jewelry, everything. Top of the line. We went out. We stayed there initially, I think it was like 4 days. I mean, whatever I wanted, I got. Like, whatever. He did not spare any expense. And I will say that about him. He is very good at planning dates. He's very good at planning trips. Like, he'll go all out. Like, when it comes to stuff like that, he's going to go all out. So, had an amazing time. We get to the last day, and he's like, do you want to just extend it maybe another day or two so you can relax before, you get back into, real life? And I'm like, yeah, okay, cool. So we do that, we're relaxing, room service, all of that. So it was cool. So I just wanted to say that part. And then where I left off, I was talking about the kids. So and I'm trying to think, y'all, I'm like years removed from it. So some parts of it are fuzzy because I literally like checked out at parts of it. But okay. I was at his house one evening, and he went out to get us some food. When he went out to get us some food, I had on my Apple Watch. He has an Apple Watch, but I had forgot my watch charger at my house. So I went to put my watch on the charger, and his watch was on the charger. So when I went to put my watch on and get his watch off, he got a notification that came up on the screen, and it was from a woman. So I clicked on it. Voila, it opened up, and I'm reading the conversation. And she asking him where he at, where he's been, why she hasn't talked to him. Full-blown relationship. She don't know what she did, why he's doing this to her, why he went MIA, why he's missing. And she's like literally like begging him to talk to her. So I'm scrolling and I'm reading the responses. So he responds when he's not around me, or when I'm like somewhere doing something, not paying attention. I ain't looked through no phones. I typically don't do that. But me pulling that watch off of there was like a sign from God, I feel like. So I'm scrolling. He got another woman. Where you at? I haven't talked to you. And I'm scrolling, and it's woman after woman after woman after woman. And it's literally probably like 7 or 8 women in there. Here's where it get interesting. This man got some Christian Grey 50 Shades of Grey type stuff going on with some of these women, because they're telling him, oh, I miss it, I miss when we do this, we need another wild night of this and that. I won't go into detail, I won't tell all the man business, but just know it was on some 50 Shades of Grey type shit. Another thing, this man is getting money from these women. There was one woman in there, and she was like, I can't, don't be mad at me, but I can't Cash App you any more money. Like, I've reached my Cash App limit for the day. I don't have any more money to send you. Just give me a minute. If you give me a minute, I could send you some more money. So not only do he got this 50 Shades of Grey type stuff going on, he got these women all over sending him money and funding his lifestyle. He's taking these women's hard-earned money and giving it to me. Because like I told y'all, no expense spared. Like, no expense spared. Like, my birthday comes, he got it all planned out. I mean, literally, whatever I want, I got. But I find out these women are financing his life. So I'm like, he really don't have no money. Which caused me to dig a little bit more into his finances. So yeah, all that went on. So he gets back and I bring it up. So I was like, we'll call her Lisa. So I was like, Lisa looking for you. And so he gives me this look. And so he was like, Lisa is old news. Lisa is somebody that I used to talk to. I said used to as in like yesterday. So he's like, what you talk about? Typical nigga shit, what they do when they call. They try to at first play like they don't know what you talking about. So, I'm calm. And I'm like, I ain't up for chasing behind no man or none of that. If that's the lifestyle that you want to live and that's what you want to do, I'm out of here. No, it's old. I told her it wasn't no more. She was before your time. It ain't nothing like that. And I've been trying to tell her that it's over with. So I'm like, she's before my time. And he was like, yeah, remember when I told you I was going out of town for my birthday when we first started talking? She was there. She was with me when I was there. She was who I was with when I was out of town for my birthday. So if y'all remember back, I told y'all he went out of town for his birthday when we first started talking. And he would call and text. And then I told y'all about the hoodie. So he got me a hoodie. And he was like, yeah. He just then started to play like I'm so sorry. So he just really kind of started trying to talk about the lady. Like, she financed me. She funded me. Like, she was there for me. Like, when I first moved up here and I had to start over and this and that and that and that. And I'm like, what you mean you had to start over? Like, what you talking about? And he was like, well, I ain't tell you, I'm going through a situation with the bar. Mind you, I told y'all he a lawyer. And then he has a consulting business on the side. They just, I got a lot going on with that, with the bar and all that. And she was there for me when I first moved here. But when I met you, I just knew, you were it. So I was like, it sounds like you should have been trying to propose to this lady. Because this lady doing things that I ain't gonna never do for you. So I don't understand why you came to me. Come to find out, he was stalking my Instagram. So he had been looking at my Instagram for a long time. And back then, I was posting a lot of like teaching content, like in the college classroom, just doing like a lot of day in the lives of a young college professor, and just posting videos about that. That was mainly what my content was. So apparently I came up on his feed and he was intrigued, and so he started following me and like keeping tabs like on me. So he had been watching me for quite some time before he made his move, to slide in my DMs. And before I get into part 7, let me say this. Y'all coming on this page talking about, sis, you should have took it more serious and marriage is sacred and blah blah blah. Let me say this. Tell that shit to them niggas who out here that don't take their marriage seriously. Cause me, even though I may not
They not out here
have
telling the story
wanted
time.
to at that time, or just did something going against like my intuition, I was still solid in it. So know and understand that. One thing about me, when I do something, when I make a decision to do something, I'm a grown woman about mine. So by no means is this a pity party or any of that. It's again me telling my story so other women will know that they aren't alone. Men fake all the time. I don't care if you've known a man for 5, 10, 20 years. You don't know a man until you're married to him. You don't know a man until you live with him. So all y'all coming on this page trying to put this shit in my lap, I honored my vows. He didn't. And I can assure you, we are not divorced because of me. So you might want to check that before you come on this page. All right, part 7. So, I have the stuff at his house. So I pack all my stuff. I mean, my car is full. So I pack all my stuff, and he's trying to stop me from leaving. No, don't leave. We can work it out. We can talk it out. It ain't nothing to talk about. You got a whole... This man don't have just one woman, y'all. This man got a phone full of women that he's sleeping with and that he's getting money from, and that he's going to their house, he's going on dates, he's doing all of this. Remember now, we don't live together. So I'm not always over there, or he not at my house. Like, I have a career. Like, I have hobbies. I'm busy. And he does too. So we're not up under each other 24/7. And, we haven't gotten there. So whenever he out of my sight and claim to be working, he over here laid up with women. So I get my stuff. We go at it about it. We fall out about it. So I get my stuff and I go back to my house. I'm like, he ain't never got to worry about me coming to his house again. He kind of, let me say this. He had a very sinister look on his face. The man is a narcissist, okay? And I don't know if you've ever dealt with one, and I know people use this word a lot, but he is a textbook narcissist. He had this look in his eyes and this look on his face like he was like, I got her, if that makes sense. Like, I got her. Like, I got you. I got you. So I saw that look and I was like, mm-mm. So, after leaving his house, we go probably a couple of days without talking. And so he decides to break the silence, and he's apologizing, and he's basically saying like a lot of that he had to get out of his system. And a lot of those women were before us. And again, he knew when he met me, like, I was the one, but he was just kind of like one foot in and one foot out. But us having the little tiff about the situation really brought things into perspective for him. And, he just really wanted to try to see if we can make things work. So his kids were supposed to be coming. And so he wanted to plan a trip with all the kids and me and him to go see some family. of his. And let me just say this. So, I'm listening. And again, even though I honestly didn't really want to get married, again, I still honored the process. I still honored what it was, because even in that moment, I told him, I'm like, okay, just give me a minute to like think about everything that you're saying. I didn't file the divorce immediately at that point. So he thought that there was still hope. And I kind of like led him to believe that, kind of, sort of, I guess, because I didn't immediately shut it down at that point. I was just basically like, just give me some time to think. I'm going to be at my house. You could be at your house. But yeah, he wanted all of us to go on the trip. After thinking about all of us going on the trip, I was like, okay, cool. So he tells me, that he's going to get his kids and then he's going to come back. And he plans the trip, pays for the tickets, and he's like, yeah, I'm excited. You're going to meet, my family. And I'm like, all right, cool. At this time, I was in the process of starting a new job. And so they had called me and officially given me a start date. So the start date was that Monday after the weekend that we were supposed to be going out of town together. When they called me to tell me about the job, he had already booked the tickets, had all the travel arrangements set up. Something just in me was like, nope, I ain't going. So I didn't say it to him like that. I was just like, well, I got stuff to do for the job, so I got to be in town, and the trip ain't gonna work for me because I can't change my start date. Like, these people told me this is the day that I have to start, and I have all of my stuff done before my start date, so I can't go. He was pissed. He was pissed. So him and his kids, they go on the trip. And he posting stuff and subliminals the whole time because we followed each other on social media. So he posting subliminal messages and all this the whole time. And I'm just looking. We're not talking on this while he's on this trip because he is pissed off at me. And I kind of decided, like, in that moment, like, this ain't gonna be it. But he calls me when he gets back from the trip. Now, y'all bear with me because this was years ago, and as I tell the story, things are starting to come to my memory. So I'm going to go back just a little bit. So remember, I told y'all he was a lawyer, and there was some things going on with that. So he was being investigated by the Bar Association for several complaints of misconduct. And so at that time, he was not able to practice law. This is what I found out. I was in my career, and my career was thriving. So initially, I was, working at a school, a well-known school, and then I was also teaching my college courses a couple of evenings out of the week. So because of his status with the bar, he started asking questions about becoming a college professor. So what's the requirements? What's the process like? What does the pay look like? If one was interested in applying to work at a university, what would that look like? So he started to share an interest in teaching classes. And so he asked me if there were some positions at the college, one of the colleges that I was teaching at. And so, I was like, I don't know, you got to look into it. But I started to notice him kind of like being a little bit jealous of me having a thriving career. And so fast forward, I told y'all that I got the new job, and because of the new job, I basically told him I can't go out of town with you because I have to, finish the paperwork and do everything that they're requiring me to do to start work on Monday. So when I initially got the offer letter for the job, he was like, wow, I didn't know you was applying to them. Like, do you know
how good of an organization this is that you work for? And I was like, yeah. He was like, I don't think you understand how big this is. You are going to have connections to all types of people in the city. I mean, big connections, big connections. Like, these people are going to be, you're going to be in rooms with major people. And this just looks so good, for my image. And so I'm looking at him crazy. And again, I told y'all, he likes to be on the scene. If there's an event in the city where there are like politicians or community leaders or, powerful, educators and people in the legal field, he wants to be on the scene. And so, I had let him know that I was going to be working from home. So he was like, wow, you get to work for this type of organization and you get to work from home. And so I remember them sending my offer letter, and me, being excited about it. And he was like, why does it say your last name on the offer letter and you haven't changed it to my last name? And I was like, because my last name is what's on my degrees and my last name is what got me to this point. So that's basically how I responded to that. And so he wasn't feeling that at all. Okay, so I just wanted to throw that part in there. He also, because of his status with the bar, he had like a couple of friends, that were a part of organizations and that had jobs. And so they had like connections with attorneys. And so he was trying to like interview to do some work for an attorney. And so apparently the attorney was having some sort of event or something. And I guess as a part of that process, the attorney asked him if he was married. And if you know anything about men in their careers and their social status, being married is like top tier. Like, they get a lot more respect. They get a lot more money. They get put into positions of more power when they have a wife. Now let's go back. Y'all been jumping down my throat about how I did him and blah, 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 blah. He wanted to marry me for his status. I looked good on paper. I looked good on his arm. That's why he was pushing for us to get married. So I just want to say that. So he gets back from the trip with his kids and he calls me. And so he's like, we really, really, really need to talk. I have the kids for a couple of more days. So if you could, make some time in your schedule, I'd really like to meet up. We can go out to eat with the kids and we can have a conversation about what happened with the trip and basically the status of what's going on with us. I agreed. So the day comes. My son and I meet him and his kids at the restaurant. Now keep in mind, this is one of the rare occasions where my son goes, with us to stuff because I kept that very separate. Again, I was very strategic. But because his kids was there, I was like, okay, my kid can go. So they can keep each other company. So this was like my son's first time meeting his kids too. So, it was like, okay, while they're keeping each other company, we could talk. So we at the restaurant and he's just trying to like push me to like talk to his daughter. Like, not that I wasn't talking to her, but you know how kids are. They have to warm up to you. But he was basically, I felt like, trying to like use the kids to kind of like pull, at my heartstrings to kind of, keep the marriage alive. And so, we basically had a conversation and he just let me know how upset he was about me not, going on a trip and how he really hoped that we could work it out. And he just feels like I haven't been basically being supportive of him. So trying to basically flip the script, talking about the situations again with the women. Oh, and let me clear that up. I said that there were 7 or 8 women in the phone. Now, I don't have evidence that he was actually doing that with 7 or 8 women. He was doing that with at least 2. And then he had other women that he was getting money from. I don't know how far they took that, but I cannot confirm that he was, in fact, taking it there with at least 7 or 8 women. He just had a mix. Like, he had, a couple of women where he was going there with, like the ones that thought that they were in a relationship. And then he had the ones, specifically, like, the conversation was about money. And then it seems like he was, like, vetting these other women. And again, if you think about it, this was going on, the money situation with the women, because of his status with the bar. So because of that, he was unable to get certain jobs. Now, he also had like a legal consulting business, but apparently it was some issues with that. Like, the services that he was providing, he wasn't providing those services good enough based on, his clients. And so he was running into issues with that. So apparently money was an issue. So he had to, pay his bills. And then he also had to keep me and keep the lifestyle that he portrayed and what he introduced me to. Because remember, I told y'all he spared no expense. So in order to maintain that, he had to have those women giving him money. So, we had the conversation over the food, and he was like, well, I'm going to take the kids back. How about you ride with me? And, we could continue to talk, taking the kids back. So, I take my son home, and I was like, all right, cool. I'll ride with them. So we're riding down, and we're talking. The kids are asleep in the car, so we're talking, so we get to the destination, and the baby mama get out of the car. Mind you, now, this is the first time I met her. So he was like, can you get out the car and meet my baby mama? Because I wasn't going to get out the car. I'll say, hey, but I don't want this man no more. So, whatever. I'll keep it cool. I'll keep it cordial. So I get out the car. He goes, I just wanted to introduce you to my wife. And the way that she looked at me, y'all. So he introduces me as his wife to the baby mama. And she looked like a deer in headlights. But she was very nice, very respectful. I introduced myself. I told her, you're doing an amazing job with the kids. It was short, sweet. I got back in the car. They kept talking about whatever it was that they were talking about. But I could tell that she was surprised. So when he got back in the car, he let out like a deep breath. And I was like, what you doing all that for? And he was like, I don't know, I just didn't think it was gonna go like that. And I was like, why would you think it would go any other way? And he was like, I don't know, that was my baby mama, and we got 2 kids together, and I don't think she thought that I would be getting married. So, I'm putting that out in my brain like, oh, they must got something going on. Again, I don't care. I'm leaving. But whatever. So, we continue to talk. He continued to basically say, what he said was, I gotta kind of admit some of the stuff that you found in my phone. Some of what you found in my phone is partially true. The parts where you did see me getting money from women, that's just what I was doing when I first moved up here. So I was on dating sites. We ain't meet on the dating site. Nothing wrong with it, but I was on the dating sites, and that's just what I was doing to occupy my time when I first moved up here. So he was on those dating sites scoping out successful women and seeing what he could get out of those women. And he was like, yes, some of those women, I didn't do nothing with them, but I just kind of led them on to believe that we could have something if they give me money. And that's what they was doing. But I was giving it to you. And I was like, this man is a piece of work. So then he goes, and I wanted you to ride down here because I had a surprise for you. I got a spa date set up for you, and I'm gonna take you over here to the spa. Okay, cool. We go to the spa.
We have a nice time. You know, we drive back, you know, where we at. And he's like, you know, I really want, you know, my marriage to work, and I really want us to work this out. You know, maybe we could go to therapy or something. So I'm like, okay, whatever. So, I think the next day, or it was, I can't remember, y'all. It was a couple days later or something, but he came to my house. I think my son was at school or something, but he came to my house. Um, and then he was just like, you know, we were talking, you know, and then he was just like, you know, I gotta go um run some errands and stuff. Like it was kind of like abrupt, but he was like, I gotta go to some meetings and I gotta go handle some things. So I was like, okay, cool. So he leaves. I'm working. So he calls my phone and he's like, I met with somebody who was over some school about some social event. Y'all, I can't remember it because I was blocking it out. He always got some type of social event to try to go to every single day. I don't give a fuck. So he was like, yeah, and I told him that we will be there on such and such day. And I paused and I was like, we? And I was like, you ain't asked me nothing about going to no meeting. And so I mean, no social meeting or whatever it is. And he was like, but you're my wife and I need your support to be there. And I was like, oh, you need my face to be there. And so he was like, yeah, but you're also my wife. How I'm going to be at an event with a ring on my finger and my wife is not there to support me? And so I was like, it really just, he rubbed me the wrong way, really. Like, he was just getting beside himself. So I was like, first of all, don't be putting nothing on my calendar because you just be running all around town to all these meetings and you ain't making no money. And so he was like, I can't believe you would say something like that to me. And I was like, and furthermore, I have my own meetings to go to that I actually get paid for. So I just started talking real reckless out of my mouth. And it just like, I guess it pissed him off. And so he was like, well, you know, we ain't gotta talk no more today or something like that. And so like, I was like, you know, well, whatever. And I hung up the phone. And so after like 5 minutes, I was like, what the fuck am I doing? I am so done with this shit. So I sent him a message and I said, since you're a lawyer and we can both agree that you ain't what I want and I'm not going to be the kind of wife you want, since you're a lawyer, we could go ahead and file for that divorce and it shouldn't cost anything because you're a lawyer. You know how to file the paperwork. I'm not going to contest it. You're not going to contest it. It should be a clean cut divorce. So he was like, okay, cool. Because I guess he had found, honestly, I think what it was, he had found a new supply. If y'all know a narcissist, y'all know they keep a new somebody in rotation. So I think what had happened was he had found somebody new. So he thought shit was sweet and he could just, you know, beat his chest about it. And he really didn't take me serious is what I think. So, but he filled it out. And he sent me a copy. So he was like, we got to go notarize this. So I was like, okay, cool. And he was like, well, what day can you be available? So I gave him my availability and we met, you know, at the bank so we could get it notarized. So I'm walking in the bank. I'm looking good. I'm smelling good. He's already there when I walk in. I'm looking good. I'm smelling good. So as soon as I walk in the bank, like the security was like, you know, wow, you're gorgeous. And so I go to sign in. And as I'm coming from signing in, it's another guy. And he was like, oh my God, you know, you're gorgeous. You know, I would really like to get your number. I would really like to take you out. Whole time he's just sitting there fuming, just sitting there mad, sitting there fuming. But you know, he's still like beating his chest like he, you know, we gonna go through with it. So I'm ready. So we go back to, you know, get the notary to sign. We don't even speak. We don't say anything to each other. I sign, he signed, they give us a copy, and that's that. So later he sends me an email, and he has to send me an email because he's blocked. I blocked him. So in the email, he was basically like, you know, we're gonna, you know, something like, I can't believe we're gonna go through it with it, but whatever. I'm gonna file it, and you know, you should get your notification of receipt of filing. So he files it.
I get the receipt of filing. So you have to wait. You have a 30-day waiting period before, you have to go and appear. But because it's uncontested, just wait in the 30 days. We don't have any assets or anything. It should be a smooth process. He fills out the divorce paperwork wrong on purpose. He also didn't serve me properly on the divorce papers. So after 30 days, I didn't receive nothing. I'm like, what's going on? What's going on? So I called the court and they're like, they just told me like basically there was a delay with processing and just give it some time. So I'm like, okay, another month go by. I don't get served. I don't get anything. It's just sitting there. Now, mind you, I told him to file it because he's a lawyer. So he knows what to do. If we agree, there's no need to pay another lawyer for the divorce. If he could just do it, I could just sign it. I don't care if it says he's the petitioner and I'm the respondent. I don't care about none of that. Let's just sign this paperwork. So I called down to the court and the lady was like, yeah, he didn't have you served properly. He filled this out incomplete. We can't process this. So on a technicality, y'all are still married. I said, oh, hell no. Nah. So he took me to his childhood house. His parents had passed on. And so they had left like the house and the property to him. And so it was like, it was quite a bit of land. And so he was like, yeah, as my wife, you could kind of tell me what you think I should do with the property. And he was like, it can be like a kind of like a vacation house for us. So like when we come, we want to get out the city, we can come here and we can just relax. But my baby mama been asking me, if she could move in the house with the kids because the house is paid off, so there's no mortgage on the house, but it's in the country. So I wasn't interested in moving to the country, but it was a nice idea to go to the house, when you wanted, to have a vacation. So he brings this house up again, as a matter of fact, when we're leaving from with the baby mama, and I forgot this part. And he's like, yeah, my baby mama was asking me about moving in that house. And he was like, basically, as my wife, how do you feel about me just letting my baby mama stay in the house with the kids? And I was like, whatever you feel like you need to do. There was also an instance when I went home. Now, I just let him know, I'm going home to visit some of my family. I did not want him to go home with me. This man practically begged me to go home with me. Now, remember, didn't nobody know I was married. Only like 2 people, my sister and my cousin, knew that I was actually married. So it wasn't, a lot of people didn't know. People thought I was engaged. So I'm like, damn, if he go home with me, he talk too much. So he gonna tell them that I'm married. So I'm gonna have to go ahead and they're gonna be looking at me and I gotta explain that. So I went ahead and shot my favorite uncle, because that's who I was going to see. So I shot my favorite uncle a text and I was like, I'm gonna just go ahead and tell you now that I'm married. And he was like, what? Man, stop playing. You're not married, because it's me. So I was like, I got married. And he was like, really? And he was like, I'm so happy for you. Like, I didn't expect that, but I'm so happy for you, let us know when we gonna meet. And I was like, I'm gonna come down there and, he's gonna come. And he was like, well, I'm gonna tell your auntie. And I'm like, okay. So I had to tell them, and only because I knew when we got down there that he just talked so much and he was just gonna tell them that we was married. And I didn't want it to come from him. So I just went ahead and kind of laid the foundation. But so there's that when we went to visit his family, I met his sister, and his sister kept saying to him, like, don't mess this up. Don't mess this up. Don't mess this up. But y'all, he was just telling everybody. And I did not want nobody to know. Like, I did not want anybody to know. Like, okay, so back to the divorce filings. So I was also he had put me in the family group chat. I told him not to. I didn't want to be in the family group chat. So because he filed the divorce wrong on purpose to try to, like, what he was trying to do was extend our marriage and basically hope that I was going to change my mind and hope that we could work it out. So I got a message from the family group chat. Basically like inviting me to something and them not even know that we had filed for a divorce. So I was pissed off. So I just started going off in the group chat, telling them how much of a fucking loser that he was. I mean, just calling him names. I mean, just going off in the group chat. And I told him to take me out the fucking group chat. Like, I was just going off. And so he sent me an email and he was like, really? And blah, blah, blah. So we kind of went back and forth a little bit in the email. And I was like, you know what? Fuck this. I called a lawyer, called an attorney, and I was like, I want to file for a divorce. And so, you know, they ask you the typical questions. I'm like, we don't have kids. We don't have assets. He filed it wrong, and that's why we're here. He's a lawyer, and he was supposed to file it, and he didn't do it right. This is why we're here. So I asked her about the annulment process because, y'all, all this happened within like a 2.5 month time span. All of this. So I asked her, like, the annulment process. And so she explained it to me. And she was like, you know, just because the marriage is short, it doesn't necessarily mean that you can get an annulment. Now, you can. Like, it's some steps that we're going to have to take. You got to prove some stuff. And it's going to make the process a little bit more complicated. And it's going to be a little bit more expensive. And she was like, now, what you could do is because y'all have already both agreed to file, it's non-contested. So because it's non-contested, it's nothing for me to file it. Now, again, you're still going to have to wait those 30 days. You got that 30-day waiting period. But again, because y'all have already basically started the process and he agrees, as long as he doesn't contest it, you should be good to go. So she starts the process for me. And she calls me and tells me that I have to come in the office or whatever to sign the paperwork. So she had already sent the paperwork over to him for him to sign. And she just let me know, like, he was just asking a bunch of questions. And so I signed the paperwork, waited the 30 days, and the divorce was finalized. So everything was good. He went his way. I went my way. You know, life continued to go on. And let me just say this. I have a dog, and my dog hated him. Y'all say hey to my dog. Say hey to Rocky. But my dog hated him. So, you know, life went on. So about 2 months ago, I get a phone call in the middle of the day from a random phone number. My son is in school, so I'm thinking, you know, maybe somebody calling from the school. It's the middle of the day. Or it's a job or something that I've applied to. So I answer the phone. I hear his voice. And he's like, hi, can I speak to Lakita? And I'm like, who is this? And he was like, you don't know my voice? And I'm like, no, I don't. And I hung the phone up. But in my mind, I knew his voice. But I'm like, what does he want after all this time? Because after the papers were signed and it was finalized, we did not communicate. It was literally over. And so I was like, let me get my iPad and record this conversation because I know he's going to call back. And this man is manipulative. He's narcissistic. I don't know what he's going to say out of his mouth. So let me have this on just in case. So he calls back and I answer again. And so he's like, you know, he's telling me like, this is so-and-so. So I'm like, yeah. And he was like, hey. And I'm like, what's up? And he's like, how you doing? And I'm like, I'm fine. Like, what you calling me for? And he was like, I ain't calling on no, nothing like that. You know, I was just calling to let you know that I've been thinking about, you know, us, and I've been thinking about the marriage, and I just wish that it would have turned out better. Like, I just wanted to let you know that, you know, you were a great wife, and I just didn't appreciate, you know, what we had at the time, and I wish this would have turned out better.
So remember now I told y'all I think that he had got a new supply and he was beating his chest. So whatever situation he was in that had kept him quiet, kept him away, and kept him at bay, I guess it didn't work out the way that he thought it would. So he was just basically telling me how good of a woman I am, and it wasn't my fault, and it was his fault that it ended the way that it ended, and he just wished it would have been better. So then, he starts asking, about my son. And I'm not mad. I'm not upset. I'm not angry. I'm far removed from the situation, y'all. I was able to get out of it. So outside of my money, like I wanted him to give me my money back. But whatever. I'll take that. I'll take that. I was able to get out. So I don't have like anger. I will not converse with him. No, but I'm not like mad angry. And so, he's telling me, his kids are good. And I'm like, where's this going? And I'm listening because I know it's headed somewhere. And I'm just waiting on it to get where it needs to be, where he's trying to get it. Because he's long-winded. I'm like, where he going with this? So he goes, in spite of it all, I still view you in a high regard, and at the end of the day, you were this and you were that. And so he goes, I would really like, if me and you could go out, if we could meet and we could, talk over dinner or something. So I go, I don't think my man would appreciate that. He was like, oh, you're in a relationship, but you know what? I wouldn't expect nothing less because you're an amazing woman. So tell him he's a lucky guy. And I said, yeah, I'm engaged. And he already knows that. And he was like, oh, he was like, he was kind of like taken aback and kind of speechless, but he was still trying to like, still like hold his chin up. So he was just like, oh, congratulations. I think that that's amazing. And whatever you need, if you ever need something, please don't hesitate to call me. I'm just a phone call away. You'll always have a friend in me. And just this and just all of that. And y'all, I just hung up the phone and blocked the number. And so I haven't heard from him since. But that is my story. And again, I told this story because I want women out there to know that just because you're in a marriage or you're in a situation, that does not mean you can't get out of it. If you did it too soon, like I did, if you waited a long time and you're in a situation and you're ready to get out of it, you can get out of it. So yes, y'all, I didn't know him in the way that I should have known him, but being who he is, I don't think I would have ever known who he is.
What it do, everyday people, man? It's your boy PJ. Today we back with another lit video. Back in the confessional, and yes, we staying lit, big dog. Shout out to my everyday people who rock with me every day. Shout out to my player partner, Lucky Wills and Deals. He keeps it lit. Make sure you guys like, comment, and subscribe to this video. Let me know what y'all think about this in the comment section. Hit the links down below. We got HiveMindLabs.com. And we got Opulence Scents, man, okay? We'll get you a 3-wick candle, man, okay? This one, you know what I'm saying? Pass me not, oh gentle Savior. Hear my humble cry. Alright, hit the Cashapp. Man, let's get into it, big dog. Let me know what y'all think about this in the comment section. Hey, yo, so first of all, I want to say, oh, another interception, dog. Pat Mahomes is terrible today. Everybody watching the Super Bowl, see it's going crazy. Yeah, that interception was just out of line. So let's get into it, big dog, man. Now, this lady right here, man, I'm going to just say something like this. I'm going to say, like, when she said share a 7, I immediately, I checked out of her. Like, okay, sister girl. Following Sarah 7, I watch Sarah 7 daily because I be like, I watch you just to know what's out there, okay? I want to know what these women think about when they think about these things when they into dating, because I'm like, okay, You have your women who are into you, and you have the women who are into you because of what you can do or what you portray yourself to be. Now, I'm not saying that this man is any catch, okay? But from her story, we talking about from her story and what she went through, for her finding this man and accepting like, oh, he's not what I typically date. He's not. I'm not attracted to him, or he's not attracted to. I mean, I'm not attracted to everything that he has, has going on physically, but he has looks like he has something going for himself. That type of sure 7 followers would do. Okay, and it's Atlanta. Okay, so seeing a man that has a well-to-do career and is doing good for himself. It is what it is. Now, she may be a beautiful lady, may be stunning and all that stuff like that, so she could probably get a nice man if she wants one, which she says she don't want one. So it's like, but you take this man and you marry him, and then it's like, yeah, it's like, okay, you seen all the glitz and glamour and you just jumped into it and was like, yeah, this is something that I want. But then again, you want to live a soft life, but clearly went about it wrong then. Of course, like any story, any relationship, a man starts to let all the guards down, okay? Start to let all the guards down. And well, you let all your guards down, and now you see like everything going on, and everything is starting. Philly just scored again. It's like 23-0. The dude, yeah, he started to show his real true colors, and like the whole Christian thing and all that. Yeah, I mean, you obviously wouldn't have known this, and then like her keeping her stuff and all this, like she really didn't want this marriage. So I'm trying to understand why she even did it in the first place, because you don't know this man. You don't know how deep his spirituality is. Seems like you didn't even go over his house enough to realize that he was a mess. He wasn't a mess just because he got married. He was a mess before that. You just didn't see that. You didn't spend enough time with him. So you want to keep your house. Yes, keep your house. Okay, because it's yours, but not as in I'm gonna sleep in my house and you sleep at yours and we married. Like, no, you're not finna keep my marriage a secret if you done took this vow with me. Like, you telling him to take it seriously. You didn't take it seriously. He didn't take it seriously. So why would y'all even do it? And it's just like, man, you know, I mean, I don't want to just put all the blame on her, because it's her telling the story, and I'm just like, what's crazy? You know, the funny part about this is it's so many women in the comments. It's like, oh, mine's lasted 50 days. Mine's lasted less than a year. I didn't even change my lane for 15 years and all this. And it's just like, y'all are boosting this up, and this is crap. Yeah, I get it. Everybody, look, every marriage ain't, but it's the people who are calling her out, and she's like going back at them. But it's the people that are calling her out really past the vibe test, because no, sister, you didn't even go in this wanting this. And I think that's the most important part about this is like, yeah, all right, I get it. If you don't want to be, the moral of the story is, if you don't want to stay in something, don't stay in it, get out of it. But the fact is, you didn't even want to be in it in the first place, so why get into it? And then expect us to come on here and be like, oh, okay, we get your moral of the story is get out of it, when you shouldn't even have been in it. Like, you wasn't in it from the jump. And the fact that you, like not ignore red flags, because there wasn't any. Like, you didn't even have time to get all the red flags, but you did have enough time to realize that, like, you was jumping into something that you really wasn't prepared to do yourself. So I just be like, man, I don't know, man. And it don't make you want to give up hope. Like, 'cause there's people in the comments, oh, this is why I'm single. And no, this is not why you single. Okay? The fact that she don't even like men, and she was willing to choose marriage no matter how much it is. She was like, I didn't want to get married when I was in 20s. I didn't want to get married in my 30s, but you had a baby by a kid, a man. That don't make no sense. Like, I'm just like, okay, when people are more susceptible to choosing kids over a marriage, and I get it. But at the same time, I'm like, all right, we creating this broken home system, and we're gonna continue to create it. It's not gonna stop. I'm saying, like, the morals and values of the family and love and marriage is diminishing, and this is why. Okay, like, not it was him, obviously. Like, let's not throw that fact out there. Like, he wasn't who he said he was. He was a liar, and he was using women, and he was cheating on her still, and all this stuff, and we know this. But we gonna hold her to some accountabilities and say, like, girl, you wasn't even in this for the marriage. We don't. You listen to Sheriff 7. That should tell you exactly why she was in this, and it wasn't for marriage. She was in it for the money, and she got exactly what she thought out of it. It wasn't her type. She wasn't really attracted to him. I mean, you know. So, and then it was the thing about the kids and all this stuff. You know, I get it. You don't want to be with somebody with young kids. Man, have your preferences, but I think she wasn't leading with her heart. That's what I get out of this. She was leading with her having financial security, and then, you know, also it was like, oh, I was the jealousy part. Like, there can be some jealousy. We just talked about this in another video where, well, I just talked about this. Y'all ain't seen the video yet. The fact that the boyfriend is jealous of her is like, man, you know, he might have been jealous to some extent, but like, man, like, it sounds like she's has the narcissist tendencies too in a lot of situations about, oh, my career was doing this, and you lady, you're a teacher, college professor, maybe making $100,000 a year. Great, awesome. Keep pursuing that. Keep doing your thing. Not straying about your career, saying downplaying that, but you downplaying everything that you did leading up to this point, as if you passed no red flags. So now listening to Sheriff 7, red flag. Okay, not meeting up for coffee, red flag. Okay, like, I don't even know you. Why? I mean, I guess if I like you enough, I'll spend the money on you. And then when he spends the money on you, you enticed him more. But that red flag, that's a red flag. I don't know you. Why should I be spending more than a coffee date on you? You know, I'll if I like you, I'll do it. But if I just want to talk to you, I want to get to know you. I see why he wanted a coffee date, because he dating all these different women. And why if I'm going to spend money on every single woman, man, he should have left. He should have stopped talking to you then. Like, I won't go for coffee, but I'll see something cheap. And then you say, oh, we went to this nice taco restaurant. What? We went to El Tacribre Bellitery. Okay, looking ass. Come on, man. Like, it's okay, man. It's halftime. I'm finna get on it. Everyday people, let me know what y'all think about this in the comment section. Like, comment, subscribe, and holler at you later. Peace.
Day and night. For some women, it can start working in as fast as 1 week.